JD, I need you to open up the barn doors. It's time to slop it up. Yeehaw! Let's feed the piggies. The Slop Scale back in our lives. We are once again going to weigh in on the latest NBA trade rumors using the Slop Scale, which is buckets. The heavier and juicier and sloppier the NBA trade rumor, the more buckets of slop Tas Melis might assign to it. You can go from 1 bucket of slop to 5 buckets of slop. That's maximum slop. All right? I pulled a couple rumors from the interwebs this weekend. First one caught me by surprise. The Action Network's Matt Moore. He slopped it up hard this weekend, actually. He was writing what league sources or known reporting has suggested as far as teams' intentions at the trade deadline. He did like almost every team. He had slop on every team. But the one that caught everybody's eye, Matt Moore saying that the Pelicans are thought to be open to moving Herb Jones. Quote, Matt Moore here, they're high on Jones, but it'll be difficult for the team to pay their stars, Jones and Trey Murphy III, end quote. So, Tas, how many buckets of slop are you giving to this? Herb Jones possibly moving at the trade deadline?
I'll give it 5 buckets because we just want the hits. Just like Matt Moore doing a report on every single... No, it's 1. It's 1 bucket. But I understand what Matt Moore is doing.
What?
He's talking trades. That's what people need to do to get the hits.
So he's talking shit.
Well, well, yeah, pigs eat shit, I guess. Because I hope you're not watching the video, the intro of our pig slop, because that's gross stuff. Anyway, in this instance, the Herb Jones thing, they signed him to a 5-year deal before this season. So why the heck would they want to trade him? I get that him and Trey Murphy may have some, they're kind of similar players, but Trey Murphy is a fantastic three-point shooter. Anyway, I just think that the Pelicans in general have gone it for it in years past. Like, they've really, really got it. They put a lot into it trading for C.J. McCollum. They put a max for Zion Williamson when they're not sure exactly how great he's going to be. I just don't get why you would trade Herbert Jones. They just don't know if it's all coming together for sure. So you got a guy that you signed for 5 years at basically 12 to 14 per year. I was going to
say he's a discount deal.
It's extremely cheap. So I think they're going to keep the cheap deals that they have. And this is one of them. I get that Trey Murphy and him, maybe they overlap. Maybe why pay one a lot more money and not keep the other? But it doesn't really make sense. At this point, you have to make some smart moves, and keeping him here makes sense.
Yes, this is absolutely 1 bucket. That's the minimum we can go. It should be 0 if we're being honest. I like Matt Moore. He's got a lot of hot takes. I'm not sure about this one, though. You said it. Herb makes $13 million a year for 3 more years after this year. Like, that is nothing in this league.
It's 4 years, isn't it?
Well, yeah. Well, I mean, I guess I'm counting this one. Is it? I thought it was
an additional 4.
I think he signed. Okay.
He signed a 5-year deal. Oh no, you're right. It's 3. My bad.
Okay.
My bad.
So 3 more years after this one.
Yeah.
At that deal, like you said, whatever, ballpark $13 million, which is again nothing in this league. The Pels are under the luxury tax because of that little slick bookkeeping they did with Lewis and the whole Pacers-Raptors trade.
Yeah.
Their only real meaningful free agent, I believe, this offseason will be Jonas Valanciunas. So decisions to be made there, but I don't get why. Look, I get why other teams might be going, ooh, you've got Trey Murphy III. Ooh, you've got Hawkins. You've got Herb Jones. You don't need all them. Pelicans, could we get one of those guys that we really like? But that doesn't mean the Pelicans should be actively shopping him unless they are going big game hunting, which then maybe a guy like him's involved in a deal. But yeah, 1 bucket of slop, tops.
They've already done enough big game hunting, in my opinion. They're over $100 million next year in just 3 guys, in McCollum, Ingram, and Zion. And you don't know if you're going to be an incredible team. Although, on paper, everything looks good, and then you have great support for those 3 stars with Alvarado and everybody. However, you just don't know. And so it would make sense for a team that doesn't want to pay the luxury tax. David Griffin has gone for it over and over. But they made a great signing here, and I get it. I get it, but no.
Just to add to this, too, it's one thing if the Pelicans are 18-25 right now and really struggling and it's not working. They're the flip of that. They're 25-18. This is the best they've played over the last couple weeks.
Yeah.
I know they had a bit of a soft schedule there, but they are like 5th in the Western Conference right now. This isn't like what's going on with the Hawks in the East, is my point. Where it's like, okay, we should be way better than this. And then you start to panic and go, okay, now we got to move this, get this guy in. Like, it's not that bad. So this like is even more befuddling to me that Herb Jones' name would be up in any sort of trade rumor.
I get it. I think it actually makes a little more sense that they're a winning team and they just want to go for it, according to these rumors. But it doesn't really make sense to me overall. No.
Yeah. Okay, 1 bucket there. We agree on that one. All right, next one. This one's from Mark Stein. Mark Stein reported recently that the Blazers are considered likely to trade Malcolm Brogdon in the coming weeks. If they do, the Knicks are expected to be interested. New York is looking to replace some of the bench production they lost when quickly went out there to the Raps. Brogdon has 2 seasons left on his contract, both fully guaranteed, $22.5 million. New York has also reportedly registered interest in Utah's Jordan Clarkson. So, yes, the question here, Tas, is how many buckets does the Knicks' interest in Brogdon / Clarkson, let's call it, get from you?
What shall I register with these buckets?
Yeah,
I'm going with a light 2 out of 5 buckets here because this is a Tibbs team that plays guys heavy. And specifically about the guys here, Malcolm Brogdon or Jordan Clarkson. Malcolm Brogdon, I don't think makes a heck of a lot of sense. I love the guy, obviously. He's phenomenal. But Boston got off of him this past season because he's constantly injured, unfortunately. And so would you want the Knicks to go say, hey, come on over. You're getting paid $22 million next year. So you're taking out a good chunk of change from this team, specifically with Brogdon. And you already have guards. When we just talked about Jalen Brunson, that guy has to play a lot. And I understand you may want another ball handler like Brogdon beside him, but you do have some in DiVincenzo and Josh Hart and McBride and OG now. So, guys, wings. I don't really see that when you're already going to be paying OG to a new contract. So OG, Randall, and Brunson are going to be over 90. But a cheaper Clarkson makes a little more sense to me. A cheaper Clarkson who doesn't get hurt. And so Clarkson at 14 per, I'm a little bit more inclined, maybe. But they do have a bunch of guards, and I could see them taking a chance on Clarkson. It does sort of make sense there to add him, depending on what they have to give up for him.
Yeah, that's the hang-up for me. Yes, I actually think someone like Clarkson on the Knicks is what they would love to have. Like, sort of bit of the gunner mentality. Honestly, sort of what Quickly was for them, right? Like, come in, score. I mean, that's what Clarkson does. The problem is, Brogdon, he's going to be moved at the deadline. Clarkson, I don't know what the Jazz are going to do with him. I mean, I guess if they were obviously offered a deal they couldn't say no to, they would. But they are playing well. They've turned their season around. So it's just much more difficult to figure out what would be going in exchange to get Ashley Clarkson. The fit, I could see Clarkson being a bit of a fan favorite immediately there in New York, coming off the bench and getting buckets. But I just think it's going to be more difficult to get. I'm not sure if Utah's ready to move on from him.
Yeah, and as far as the Knicks go, I mentioned the guys I mentioned there, and obviously Brunson is their guy. And then to have, like you said, a guy come off the bench and help, like Quentin Grimes hasn't been that guy. Josh Hart was a different type of player than Jordan Clarkson. I get it. They did just sign Deuce McBride. They do feel like he is good enough. They have DiVincenzo. And so they got a lot of guards. I'm not sure about Jordan Clarkson coming in who's going to want to shoot all the time. So I get it. 14 mil, it's a good number for Clarkson. Yeah. Obviously, he's a great player. But I'm not sure he quite fits. But he makes a little more sense than Brunson.
Brogdon.
Because Evan Fournier comes off the books this offseason. They're done there. Yeah. So they have money to go around. But I don't see the Malcolm Brogdon thing working.
Okay. Let's talk a little Raptors. Give me some Raptors news. Okay. Also from Stein, the Raptors are seeking a first-round pick and a young player for Bruce Brown. Brown, of course, just acquired by the Raptors in the Pacers deal with Siakam. 2 teams known to have interest in Brown include the Lakers and Knicks. Brown has a $23 million team option for next season. So Stein says Raps seeking first-round pick and young player for Bruce Brown. How many buckets of slop is Tas Melis checking on this?
I got to go hot. I do feel like there's a good chance that the Raps give up on Bruce Brown. So 4 out of 5 for me here. I'm going to miss Bruce, but he is perfect for a really good team. He's a complimentary player. He's not necessarily an all-star,
Right.
but he will do anything and everything for a team to take the next step. See the Denver Nuggets. It wasn't that long ago. They just played the Knicks, as we said. And he called himself a Tibbs player.
Said I'm a dog.
Yeah, he thought he may be drafted by the Minnesota Timberwolves, where Tibbs was the coach way back when. And
He said he considered signing with the Knicks before signing with the Pacers.
Yeah, so I don't know if he's just selling himself here.
I know.
But it is an interesting thing because the Pacers kind of ballooned his contract that he signed this preseason because you have to have a number at the salary floor now. You have to pay a certain amount or else you're just going to pay it anyways. So they kind of ballooned his contract in that he's making 23 per year. Oh, 23 next year.
Yeah.
So that's a lot. For a complimentary player, he's a very good player, obviously, and he just spent $10,000 of that paying to Jonte Porter, who is on the Raptors because he was wearing Bruce Brown's number 11. He's got tons of money, so he said, "Here's $10K." Jonte Porter thought it was going to be a lot more. Or no, Bruce Brown thought he was going to have to pay a lot more. Whatever it was, I don't know. But I just don't think it makes sense for the Raps. Being that where they are, they have to try things out. They want to pay somebody a lot next season, and I get that. Saving $23 million on Bruce Brown makes sense. I don't know what you get for Bruce Brown, but
I was going to say, are you getting a first-round pick and a young player?
Nah, I don't think so.
Right.
That's a lot. That's a lot to ask for. Maybe one of those would be nice.
I was going to say, that's what it sure feels like. It's like, we want both of these. And then teams come back, we'll give you one of those. And it's like, okay, we'll take the late first-round pick. Or we will take this young prospect that maybe you've given up on.
Yep.
But you're not maybe going to get both. Feels like
so.
that.
Yeah, he was just part of a trade for Siakam he is the best player in the trade, going back for Siakam. But all that to say, draft picks were abundant in that one. Maybe one.
It'd be really weird if the Raptors and Knicks made another trade, though.
It would be weird.
It'd be like Masai helping out New York here. Hey, sorry about that whole you suing us thing. Here's continuing to give you good players.
And they have a Josh Hart. It's like, that's Bruce Brown in a weird way.
Yeah.
They have options. And paying Bruce Brown that much money that's a good chunk of change, depending on the team. And they got to pay CAAs. OG Anunoby this offseason, money's going to come off.
But it is like, because of the structure of his contract, it's like, maybe forget the Knicks, like any of these other teams, and I'm with you, it should be a good team. Like, he needs to go to a good team to be the 5th, 6th, 7th best player on that team, right? But you almost could take a stab at it. You're like, wow, maybe Bruce Brown we think is the difference maker in helping our defense and winning a playoff series more, or whatever, to go far. And if it blows up and it doesn't work, it's like, you don't have to pick up the option. You wouldn't want to give up a lot, don't get me wrong. But if you really think he's a bit of a difference maker to your chances to win a title, let's say, then you could see yourself being aggressive and going, and if it blows up in your face, it's like, okay, well, we move off it. It's a team option. It's $23 million. Or not. Obviously, you just pick it up and you continue to play him. So
that's true.
I think he is going to be moved. I'm with you. I think, Masai Ujiri basically said that. It was like, it feels like you're not trading for Barnes, of course. You're not trading for Quickly or Barrett. Maybe Pirtle's off the table, maybe not. And then everybody else can be had, I think, on the Toronto Raptors, given the right deal. And we'll move to our final one here in the Slop Scale, because it's also Toronto-based. It's from our guy Blake Murphy, doing some reporting up there in Canada. Love to see it. He shared on the Raptors show with Will Liu, quote, "The Raptors are very likely to trade Chris Boucher before the deadline." So the slim Canadian center, he's been in and out of Darko's rotation. He's not playing a lot. He averages just 6 and 4 in 14 minutes per game. He used to play like 20 minutes a game, over the last couple of years with Nurse. But anyway, how many buckets a slot for Boucher on the move at the deadline?
I'm hot on this one. I think it's 5. I think they do move on. He's been there forever. It's kind of surprising that he was an NBA champion with this team. He was the last guy standing now from that NBA championship, although he didn't play a lot. He didn't play in
the finals, right?
Yeah, no, that was Pascal. He was the last guy to go. Yeah. But it is surprising. We know. Just like the front office said, okay, we've had enough with OG, we've had enough with Pascal. This isn't going well enough. We've got to make a move. It's the same thing with Chris Boucher, who Nick Nurse tried to play 20 minutes per game. Sure, yeah, and it unfortunately hasn't. He's good and bad. But it's time to part ways. It's just surprising that he's been with the Raptors for 6 seasons, and he only played 1 game with the Golden State Warriors before that. And that's his entire NBA career. But it would make sense for the Raptors, no matter what they get back, because they get more space in free agency because he is signed through next season for a $10 million. But he is front-loaded, that the contract that they signed, and going down to $10 million, I guess makes sense for some teams to say, hey, we got to back up big. Why not?
Yeah, I like Boucher. I think you're right. He has bad games, and then he has really good games where he's 7 for 7 and hitting threes, and he's flying all over the place, and is a difference maker. But definitely has fallen out of Darko's rotation, like I said. There's not a lot of trust there. This is definitely 5 buckets of slop. This was the worst kept secret in the NBA. And if you remember, I was here on No Dunk saying Chris Boucher can be had. Not that I'm reporting anything at any time, but it's like, the guy's out of the rotation. A team can go and get him. And I don't think it's going to take a lot. Like, it's going to take, like you were saying there, Tas. They want to get out from under Boucher's salary next season, which is 10 to 11 million. Let's call it that. So what's coming back? Some expiring money, I assume, and maybe a second round pick. Like, it's not going to be sexy, whatever comes back for Boucher. But a team would be very smart, I believe, to go and get him. I know he's been linked to the Celtics at times. Maybe it's always tough to trade with a division rival if you're the Raps and stuff like that. You're helping them out, their chances to go win a title. But I feel like he would be a good addition to a lot of squads, just as a guy coming off the bench. Because he has his moments where he's, again, a difference maker. So he's going to be traded. Because it's not going to take a lot.
Not a lot at all. I think the Raptors would think about releasing him, in all honesty. I know that sounds a little crazy. If they can't get anything for him, we saw what the Pacers did with Daniel Tice this season. They released him. And then became a Los Angeles Clipper, and he was key for them. He has been key for them because he's a good player, but he's a lot cheaper than $10 million when you release him and you sign him. And they just the Raptors just don't want to pay him next season. I think that's what it comes down to with Chris Boucher. So
I would usually have thrown in the Thunder here because lots of talk about the Thunder needing more help at the center position, but they don't like guys that can't shoot, and Boucher cannot hit the three. Consistently. That's right. I said it there. These games where he can't miss, but it's few and far between. So I just don't think they would go aggressively for a guy like him. They got 1 million picks. They could throw a couple second-round picks or 1 second-round pick. They could get it done, but I don't think they it's not the type of mold they want usually from their guys.
Right.
But some team out there will get a Boucher, and he'll be good. He'll surprise people because unless you're watching Raptors games, you probably have no idea who we're even talking about. Slim Duck himself. All right.
Slim Duck.
Slop Scale. Love it.